Welcome, friends of the Greasy Shop Rag. Today we're going to take a look at an Echo PPT280 pole saw. The customer complaint is that it won't start. So let's take a quick look inside the fuel tank and see what he's got going on here. I mean, the fuel itself looks pretty good. I don't see any water in the bottom of the tank. There's a filter attached to the line. You know, I want to try and start this thing, so I'm just giving it a quick once over and seeing if there's something obvious or if it's safe to try and start it. So looking at the air filter, we have this nice black filter part that's in pretty decent shape. That brown foam piece, that could stand to be washed. It's pretty dirty. I doubt that's the reason it's not starting. But that's something that'll happen. You know, if I can't get it clean, I'll replace it. But if it's a piece of foam like that, we try and just wash it quick. Looking inside the cylinder, first of all, the spark plug doesn't look too bad. Doesn't even look like it's got that many hours of runtime on it. But inside the cylinder looks clean and shiny. I don't see any scores. I probably could have checked the compression or even checked for spark. But I want to, kind of experience what he was experiencing here and see if it'll start. A quick look at the spark arrestor screen tells me that, it's clear and it's not plugged up. Let's flip this switch on. Choke. So I got the choke on. We want to prime it up. Primer bulbs on the bottom of this carburetor. It doesn't feel like it's going to prime. Let's get a better shot of this. I can see a little bit of fuel in the bulb, but it's not taking on any more fuel or pushing the fuel that's in there. So when he says it wouldn't start, it probably comes right back to this problem. He couldn't prime it to start it. No matter. I mean, it's got a fuel problem. We're going to dig into it. 2 screws hold this air filter base on here. We'll get them out of the way. Looks good. That air filter base held the choke plate, so you want to take a look at that choke plate and make sure that when it is closed, it seals decent so that you have a better chance of a cold start working for you. A look at the insulation block and the insulation wall. Those look normal. Let's take the throttle cable off of here. I'm getting a little bit of fuel seems to be leaking. I'm not sure where that's coming from. We'll investigate that. Can't tell where it's coming from. So if I hold the throttle open on the carburetor, I can push the ferrule out of the holder on the carb and release that cable from the carburetor. I'm going to remove the fuel lines. The one with the filter on it goes to the barbed fitting on the carburetor. Quick look at these lines. I mean, they look decent. I don't see any holes. It could be the grommet that's leaking. So let's remove this carburetor. There's a couple of 10mm jam nuts on here that hold the cable in place. What I like to do is just break one of them loose and then retighten that same one. Then the cable is repositioned in the same spot. Doesn't always work out that way. And sometimes it needs adjustment anyway. So let's go on a little fishing trip here. See if we can find us a fuel filter. There it is. The filter looks pretty good. The spark plug looked fairly decent too. I mean, maybe someone's been doing maintenance on this thing. I want to plug the end of the fuel line that would go onto the carburetor and remove the filter and put 10 pounds of pressure on this line. Now it looks like that line is holding the 10 pounds of pressure. So if it was leaking fuel, it wasn't out of that line. I'm going to put this filter right back on here. You get some more service out of that. Get this cap on here. And what are we going to do here? Putting some tools away. Make a little bit of room on the bench. Set this pole saw off to the side so I can work on the carburetor. You'll notice I'm cracking the fuel cap open so that pressure in the tank doesn't push fuel out the line while it's sitting there. So we're going to pull these 4 screws off of this plate that holds the primer bulb in place. Stuck on there pretty good. In fact, I think I might not have loosened all the screws all the way. There we go. And then we have the base that has the check valve for the primer. But here's our problem. We have a stiff metering diaphragm. Yeah, it's not supposed to click or hold position like that. So that's our biggest problem right there. If that diaphragm can't move, there's a good chance that the metering lever isn't going to move and it's not going to raise the needle off the seat. There's our micro screen. That looks good. That wasn't our problem. Here's our fuel pump. This stuff is all probably original. It's kind of showing its age. So we've got us a kit. We're going to get some new parts in here. This kit has a lot of gaskets in it. And we don't need most of them. So what I like to do is just, lay the gasket down on the bench and find the one that looks just like it. A lot of times there's an index mark on the side of the gasket, but, sometimes that can fool you. So we're going to start a pile of gaskets that we might use and a pile of gaskets we know we won't use. That one looks pretty close. All right, we'll use that. Not going to use the other one. How about this one? Looks pretty good. Why not? And any other gasket that looks kind of like it that we're not going to use goes in the pile. All right. And we just stack it up. Base gasket, fuel pump. This metering chamber plate. I want to take the, and I want to replace the needle. All right. So I'm loosening the screw that holds the cross shaft down. And then I'm going to remove the metering lever, the cross shaft, right out of there. I want to leave the spring in the metering chamber. And I don't think the kit came with a new spring, so we don't want to lose that. So what do we have here? This is our new needle. And if you look on the tip of it, it's got some kind of protective coating on it. It's all gray and shiny. And sometimes that stuff stays on there for a long time if someone doesn't clean it off of there. I like to clean them off before I put it together. Now it's just a black rubber tip. So what I'm going to do is hang that on the metering lever. I have the cross shaft in there. The spring is sitting in the metering chamber, and I just drop it on top of there. Push the cross shaft over underneath the hold down screw, and then run the screw down. There we go. Now we want to check the metering lever height. On this carburetor, the height is to be level with the bottom of the metering chamber. So they make these gauges. You've seen the W's and the Z's. I just recently got one that's a universal gauge, and a lot of the W and Z carburetors are listed on here. There's even some Ruxing carburetors listed on here, and the gauge you need for some auto-tune models. I noticed that there are models that are not listed on the gauge, but are represented on the gauge. And at some point I might just, scratch those or engrave them on that plate. I got that new square universal one, the Z Zama gauge, and then the old and the new Walboro gauges. We should be able to set the metering lever height on just about anything. So what I'm doing is I'm just checking the height. Lay the gauge across the top of the carburetor, and the index on the gauge should be just touching the metering lever. Bend the metering lever either way to get it to where you want it. That's a closer look at the gauge. I got that through Echo. There's your part number. All right, enough on the metering lever gauges. Now we are going to put our metering diaphragm in here. The first thing that goes down is the gasket, and then the metering diaphragm itself. Make sure you orient it the right way. Extra gasket. Looks good. And then this plastic plate that has the primer bulb check valve in it. Now would be a good time if you want to replace the primer bulb. You do that now. This one felt pretty good while I was pushing on it. It is a little dark in color. We're kind of doing the budget repair on this one and just doing what it needs. Trying to keep the cost down. We want to get this guy out the door for, a reasonable amount of money. So here's our carburetor. We got to put the throttle cable back on. Now if you're paying attention, you'll see that the nut that I just tightened up there is not the nut that I backed off. It doesn't always, I don't always remember which nut it was that I loosened up. I should have a system where I always loosen the outside one or always loosen the inside one. But I don't. And it doesn't matter, because the bottom line is you want to adjust it so that there's some slack in the cable when it's at idle, and maybe even enough slack so that you can turn the idle down if you had to. But one thing I like to really try and accomplish is you want to test for full throttle and make sure you're getting that. But I like to see the trigger lever flush with the handle when it's at full throttle. so that if I'm holding the pole saw, I got my right hand on the trigger, and all the weight of the saw is in my right hand, I don't want all the weight of the saw pulling on the trigger. I want the trigger flush with the handle and my hand supporting the weight of the saw in the handle, not on the trigger. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but if the trigger didn't bury into the handle and all the weight of it was, pulling on the cable, it's going to be a problem eventually. So we're kind of sandwiching this back together, running the screws through the air filter base, the carburetor, the insulation wall, and into the insulation block. We'll get this screwed down. And we're not going to clean that air filter right now. We're just going to test it and see if we can get it to start and run. Crank it down to spec. Click. Choke. Throttle looks good. Gotta try and start this thing. And if it does start, then that's all I'm going to have for you on the Echo PPT280 pole saw that had a stiff metering diaphragm. Thanks for watching. Later.